There's a prophecy the Vatican kept locked away for centuries, not because it failed, but because it came true. And it came true in the worst possible way. The event happened first. Only later did someone realize a medieval prophecy described it in disturbing detail. And when that connection was noticed, the Church moved fast. Because this prophecy did not predict glory, it predicted humiliation. And if it was genuine, it meant God Himself had planned the Church's loss of power. In 1870, the Papal States collapsed. For over 1,000 years, the Pope had ruled an actual country. Armies, taxes and territory, treaties. The popes were kings in everything but name. Then almost overnight, it ended. Italy unified into a single nation. Its army entered Rome. And on September 20th, 1870, the Pope lost every piece of secular land he controlled. Pope Pius IX retreated behind Vatican walls. He declared himself a prisoner, and for the rest of his life, he refused to step outside. The Church framed this as theft, as sacrilege, as a crime against divine order. But then something surfaced, an old text, buried in the Vatican archives, written 500 years earlier. It was a prophecy by a medieval nun, Bridget of Sweden, a woman the Church itself canonized as a saint. Her visions were approved, studied, taught, and in one overlooked revelation, she described a future moment when the Pope would lose his earthly throne. She wrote that Rome would fall to a united nation rising from the south, that the Pope would retain faith but lose political power. Italy unified from the south, Rome fell, and the Pope kept spiritual authority while losing everything else. She even wrote that the Pope would withdraw into a small, fortified space and refuse to leave. That is exactly what happened. When a Vatican historian noticed the match decades later, he froze. His name was Peter Scavini. He worked inside the Vatican Library in the 1880s. He was researching medieval mysticism. Nothing controversial. Then he read the passage. Once, then again, then a third time. The details were too precise to ignore, too specific to dismiss. So he did what a historian is supposed to do. He informed his superiors. The response was immediate, clear, final. Do not publish this. Why would the Church suppress a prophecy that came true? Because it came true in the wrong order. No one knew about the prophecy before the event. It was discovered only after the Papal States fell. And that creates a problem the Church cannot solve. If the prophecy was genuine, then God revealed the Church's loss of power centuries in advance, which means the loss was inevitable, predetermined, God's will. And if that is true, then every pope who fought to preserve the Papal States was fighting against God's plan. Wars, excommunications, political pressure, all resistance was meaningless. The Church had spent 1,000 years claiming that papal kingship was divinely ordained. Now a canonized saint suggested the opposite. The Church could not acknowledge this without collapsing its own narrative. So the prophecy disappeared. It was excluded from official collections of Bridget's revelations. Access to the manuscript was restricted. Scholars were told it was fragile, then under restoration, then partially illegible. When a reference finally appeared in the 20th century, it came wrapped in disclaimers, minimized, explained away. But here is the deeper problem. If Bridget truly saw this future, then some events are fixed. Not choices, not possibilities, outcomes. That challenges the Church's teaching on free will. It suggests history moves along predetermined rails. And if that is true, then what else was already decided? The Reformation, the schisms, the scandals. The Church has faced this problem before. Prophecies that glorify the institution are celebrated. Prophecies that humble it are buried. Joachim of Fiore predicted an age where the institutional Church would fade, condemned. Savonarola warned of papal corruption, executed. Every time prophecy points inward, the response is suppression. Skeptics might say the prophecy was forged after 1870, backdated, invented. If that were true, the Church could have exposed it. Instead, they hid it, which means either way, the truth was inconvenient. This is not about one medieval vision. It is about how the Church treats prophecy itself. When revelation supports authority, it is divine. When revelation threatens authority, it becomes dangerous. The Church says it guards prophecy to protect the faithful. History shows it guards prophecy to protect itself. And once you see that pattern, you begin to question everything. Because if the Vatican suppresses prophecies from its own saints, what else is it willing to hide? How many warnings were ignored because they did not serve power? And how many prophecies are unfolding right now while the Church pretends not to see them? If God truly spoke through Bridget, then the fall of papal power was not a tragedy, it was a correction. And the most unsettling question is not whether the prophecy was real. It is this: what happens when the next prophecy comes true? And no one is allowed to talk about it